Alright, so this is a pretty important announcement from Wizards of the Coast today. It is on Monday, June the 20th, that they're announcing that Jace the Mindsculptor is banned at Standard, and Stoneforge Mystic is banned at Standard for the remainder of the Zendikar block that will be legal in Standard. So, you want my true opinion? Wow. I am fucking amazed. And that was complete sarcasm. If you want to know why that was complete sarcasm, no, I'm not in the crowd that's like, Jace should not be banned. No, I'm not in the crowd that's like, Stoneforge should be banned. I'm thinking, this should have happened months ago to prevent your meta from becoming a complete fucking disgrace. to all the other games out there, like... Alright, so, like, alright. For those of you who are wondering, Standard is almost dead, but apparently on July 1st it's supposed to be awesome again, even though it won't, because there's still broken interactions with other cards that Wizards completely forgot to, you know, care about. It's like, ooh, what do you fucking do? You know? So let's get right down to it. Like I said, too little, too late. The meta isn't going to be changing anytime soon. You're still going to see dominant decks like, cool, Wizards, you banned a card, you banned 2 cards, but honestly, is it going to help the meta that much? If you want my opinion, sort of. It's gonna make people play more other decks, but I think the deck that's really going to come out on top now because of this is the Splinter Twin deck. And for those of you who don't know how the Splinter Twin deck works, you get Exonerated Monarch on the field, and you get Splinter Twin on it, and you make a billion dudes sit on tap your Splinter Twin all day, and they all have haste. So you make a billion dudes and you swing for game. And that's how the deck works. And that is honestly how the deck works. It's also 1/4, so you can't bolt it or anything like that, which makes it extremely good on its own, at least in draft. I'm not sure if it's played anywhere else, I doubt it, but in a Splinter Twin combo deck that can win on turn 4, that's how it's done. Honestly, I'm not really surprised to see Jace banned. I thought he had it coming for a long time, to be completely honest with you, because Jace should have been banned like January or February this year, I think. Like, should have been banned by the time New Phyrexia came out, because there was no point in keeping him around anymore. It was just, oh, the meta's fucked, so let's just keep him banned. But, and in the article in this article here that Standard banning explained, what he's basically saying is that even though these 2 cards were created, R&D decided to do absolutely nothing to combat the fact that Jace the Mindsculptor butt-fucked the meta. They did absolutely nothing to directly combat Jace the Mindsculptor, because these 2 are not that powerful. And the fact that they're making cards to try and even... Well, I really shouldn't have said they weren't doing anything, but they made cards, but these 2 don't do shit against Jace. No one plays them because they're garbage cards. It's like Wizards throwing a fit about the fact that players are playing 1 card in all of their decks that they made, alright? It's like, you're not supposed to be playing this card. Stop killing our meta. Stop killing everybody from coming out to playing events. Blah, 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 blah. And honestly, this is what Konami does too. They make anti-cards to battle one deck, but they end up making another archetype broken in the process, which is kind of weird how that works. It's like Pranika card that you know is broken, that's specifically made to battle this one card type, but then you can put it into its own deck, and it'll be just as overpowering, if not more so. This is why I don't really... this is why I'm not jumping for joy at the fact that Stoneforge Mystic and Jace are banned, because it's too little too late. Sorry guys, you may have admitted to your mistake, but it's still too little too late. The fact that you did admit to your mistake speaks volumes about the fact that you sort of care about the player base, but you're just more interested in getting new players in to buy cards. That's it. You know? And there's only one way you're going to get people by doing that, and that's creating blocks for and that's creating archetypes within blocks for standard, like creating cards in sets, you know, that don't really have that many broken effects. And if you're going to make a card that's broken in the first place, make it so theme specific, make it so overly theme specific, mind you, that you can't play it anywhere else. And honestly, that was the main problem with the two cards. Stoneforge Mystic, especially when you combine Stoneforge with Batterskull, and that's why she's getting banned, because of the whole Batterskull issue. For those of you who don't know what Batterskull does, if you don't play Magic, what Batterskull does, it's a 4/4 with Vigilance and Lifelink, and for and yes, it is a living weapon. And you can pay 3 mana to return it to its hand. So how is this broken with Stoneforge, even though it costs 5 mana to play? Well, Stoneforge Mystic's effect says you can search it out from your deck and put it into your hand. You can pay 1 and a white, tap, and then put it into play. Now then, a lot of people may be thinking, well, that's not too bad. Well, yeah, it is bad because, number one, Stoneforge Mystic, when it puts it onto the battlefield, you cannot counter it because you're putting it, you're not casting it. It's just me putting, like, a bottle on a shelf. If I'm not using any magic, I'm using physical force, and that's exactly what Stoneforge is doing. She's making Batterskull out of fucking metal and rocks and just throwing it on the field. That's all she's doing. She's not actually, you know, casting any magic or anything to put it on the field. At least that's how I'm getting it. That's at least the flavor I'm getting through the card. Now, if you're wondering why Jace is banned, Jace is splashed. If you're playing blue, you're playing Jace, period. You're considered a horrible player, new or not, if you're not playing Jace the Mindsculptor in your deck. And I've heard a lot of arguments back and forth, too, that Jace is fine, there's no reason to ban him, he dies to Lightning Bolt, he dies to this, he dies to that, so does every other fucking card in the meta that's really good. But you know what? They're not like Jace. Jace piles on a mountain of advantage when you play him. And if you're already winning, you're winning some more with Jace. And you can lock your opponent down with lands, you can just brainstorm for the entire game if you want. Hell, you could bounce a permanent. You could just bounce anything. You can bounce a land. You can bounce the land that's helping your opponent win through their hand and just keep it in their hand for the remainder of the game if you really wanted to. Combine Jace with proliferate effects if you really are feeling ballsy and want to go that route. Hell, you could basically have an unlimited amount of resources for Jace just to bounce stuff all day long. And to look at the top card of your opponent's library, decide whether or not they keep it. It's just a really hard card to play around once he actually gets going. And a lot of people will probably tell me, well, Jace isn't too bad. You know, no, he's bad. He's bad for the meta because he's just that damn versatile of a card. And with these two banned, I don't really see blue or decks running sort of Feast of Famine to be as successful as they are right now. I don't see Caw-Blade being successful as it is right now, to tell you the truth. Because Caw-Blade uses Stoneforge Mystic and then the bird itself. Because Mystic can get 3 artifacts on the field real quick and equip them all to Caw-Blade. And Caw-Blade can just go to town and just milling your opponent's deck with Body and Mind and Feast of Famine with Body and Mind too, in addition to Caw-Blade's effect. So really, banning these two, is it good for the meta? Probably. The deck, honestly, I don't know what decks are going to come up with this. I don't think anybody does. But I think the most obvious one people are probably going to look to is the Splinter Twin deck with I can't remember the blue. I can't remember its fucking name. Horrible because I can't remember that name. But you play that and Splinter Twin, and you make 1 billion dudes for nothing. So it's pretty. That deck's actually pretty rad. And then you have nothing else other than the Splinter Twin deck. And the Splinter Twin deck, it does run blue, so of course it's gonna run Chase the Mindsculptor. What? It gets to your combo faster. But you're winning by turn 4 anyway. So if you haven't won by turn 4, well, there's Jace to help get you your cards faster. Jace is just so dumb of a card that it is literally a brain dead card. I'm sorry. It's like Darkrai Dragon way back in Teledad format. You played that or you lost. If you're playing blue, you're playing Jace, or you lose it. Higher levels of play. Sorry. Hopefully with Jace banned, and like, for the record, I'm not saying, oh, the game's going to degrade to a bunch of scrubs suddenly winning. No, it's never going to degrade to that. Ever. Ever. It's never going to degrade to that. Magic actually is like, Magic at higher levels requires you to actually play like creatively with your deck. But with Jace around, it wasn't happening. Jace around, like I said, Jace around, it wasn't happening. And at least in Lore Win, like, even though standard fairies were really fucking good back then, there was other tribes. You had the goblins, and I think it was goblins and elves were the only two tribes that could keep up with it. And goblins had access to Flame Javelin, which was 4 damage to target creature or player. That's pretty fucking big. So. And then of course Alara with Giund, but in that format you had Super Friends, which was Planeswalker, City, and Central, which is kind of where my hatred for the archetype started, because Planeswalkers are getting so ridiculous these days that they can support themselves in an archetype by supporting each other, apparently, which was the main goal of that archetype, which it did very well. Then you obviously had 5-color control. So, basically, you all know where I'm getting at. Standard has been stagnant. Not just this year, not just last year, but other years as well. It's been getting stagnant. It's like R&D is specifically designing cards that people know they will play and put in decks. Alright? It just seems like that to me with the way Wizards R&D is. At least they're smarter than Konami R&D, which honestly I think Konami R&D is not even existent. To tell you the truth, they still print broken cards. That will eventually get banned 2 formats later, as per the usual. Banned or limited to 1 per deck. But anyway, like I said, I just wanted to post my thoughts on Jace getting banned and Stoneforge Mystic. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.